This week, we're talking about a concept called anything for the baby.
You are listening to Love Your Job Before You Leave It, the podcast for ambitious, high-achieving women who are ready to stop feeling stressed about work and kiss burnout goodbye forever. Whether you're starting a business or staying in your day job, this show will give you the coaching and guidance you need to start loving your work today. Here's your host, career coach Corey Lynn.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. This week, we're having a conversation that I'm so excited to have with you. This topic has been on my list to record a podcast about for a really long time. And today just felt like the perfect right day. Not that we're into being perfect over here, but I don't know, something just felt right about today to record this podcast. And actually, I know what it is that felt right about it, and I'll explain it when I explain the concept. So first, backstory. This concept comes from one of my clients. So this is not a Corey Lynn original. This is a client original. And this client has a cat that is beloved, right? The cat is amazing. He's perfection. Again, not that we're into perfection, but he is. He's like the light of her life, right? And I get it because I had a cat like that too. As many of y'all know, Alex's cat, Cowboy, became my cat when we started dating, and he was my love. I adored him. He adored me. He passed away a few years ago, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. Although also it was time because he was elderly and it was clear he was not doing well anymore. Anyways, I love cats. I'm a total cat person. And I think pets are a great example of how to love, right? Like it's often so easy for us to love pets in a way that it's not easy for us to love ourselves. And actually, one of my old coaches, Cara Lowenthal, who we talk about sometimes on the podcast, I've heard her coach people before on like, think about yourself the way you would think about a pet, right? And so this sort of all ties together with this concept. So this client with her cat, like a thought that she had about her cat was like anything for the baby. So in that thought, the cat is the baby, and like anything for him, anything for this cat. If he needs something, we're going to give it to him. If he needs attention, we're going to give it to him. If he needs to go to the vet, we're going to take him there. If he needs food, we're going to feed him. If he needs new toys, we're going to get those for him. Anything for the baby. And yet that is an attitude that so often we're not able to cultivate for ourselves. And in fact, a lot of us are like sort of putting ourselves last all the time, or we're like, why would you need that? You shouldn't need that. This should be easy. It shouldn't be so hard for you, blah, blah, blah. So the way that this client spoke to her cat versus the way that so many people talk to themselves was a big difference, right? And so this client has coached with me one-on-one and was in the first round of SAF. So that's how long I've been like thinking about this concept and working up to recording a podcast on it, because that was like last year. And the second round of SAF actually just wrapped up. And SAF is my small group coaching program, Satisfied as Fuck, for anyone who was like, what? So this client in SAF, like one of the breakthroughs was applying that thought to herself, right? Anything for the baby. And the reason that this podcast is so perfect for today is because I'm having a very anything for the baby kind of day. As I've talked about on social media, Alex and I recently had to get our house fumigated because we had some wood-eating beetles who wanted to eat our house. We didn't want our house to get eaten. And leading up to the fumigation was like a lot of to-do items. We had to take all of our houseplants out of the house. We had to take all of our food out of the house, like everything in the fridge, everything in the freezer, everything in the cupboards. We had to take all the beverages out. All the medication had to go out. And for us, at least, like that's a lot of things. And even though like in advance, we knew like, okay, we're going to have to take stuff out, and we started like trying to eat through our food, there was still a lot of food. And so we ended up like taking food to 2 different friends' houses. We took our plants, which we have like 20 plus house plants, and some of them are quite big. And so we took those to other people's houses. And then we went out of town for while the fumigation was happening, but then it was delayed. So we came back into town. And we stayed with a friend for a night, and then we stayed in a neighbor's Airbnb for 2 days. And then we finally got home yesterday. But then it's like the only food we had was like the food we'd had in our neighbor's Airbnb, which was not really enough food. So then it's like going to the friends' houses and like shopping our own grocery store supplies, because we have so much over there that I couldn't even bring home everything. Like the first time I went over there, I just like kind of got the necessities, and then like Alex went yesterday afternoon to get all the house plants, and I waited here because like the PG&E, which is like our gas company, like that representative was here, like having to set our gas back up because it has to get turned off during a fumigation. And it's just kind of been a lot. And also, like Alex and I, we like to be home. We're home people. And so being in Seattle for a week and then at a friend's house and then at an Airbnb, like even though Seattle's so fun and I love to go there and I saw so many people I love and I danced and it was glorious, it's also kind of taxing to be away from home. And like, we're so grateful to our friend and so grateful to our neighbor and so grateful that we had the means to like stay in an Airbnb. And also like, we're kind of exhausted, right? So that's why I'm having an anything for the baby day. And like, let's be honest though, too, it's not required that your house be getting fumigated or that you have all these external circumstances. Sometimes we're just tired. And sometimes it's like we didn't sleep well. Sometimes we slept fine and we're just tired. Like sometimes we're having a lower energy day. Sometimes like it's an emotional thing versus like the actual circumstances of your life currently. There's all kinds of reasons to kind of call in anything for the baby. And I would actually say I'm a person who I think lives more of my life inside of anything for the baby than outside of it. And I think that's a very privileged place to be, but it's also a choice. It's a choice to care for myself and love myself in a way that culture did not teach me how to do. Culture does often not condone. And a lot of times culture directly judges, right? And here's an example. After I finish recording this podcast, I am going to do my PT exercises. Culture condones that. I am going to eat a little lunch. Culture condones that somewhat, right? For women, eating is always like a thing that culture has a lot of thoughts and feelings about. We're not going to get into that in today's podcast. But then I'm probably going to like watch TV until my client call. It's like the middle of the day, right? And to me, that's like an anything for the baby move. That's like, I feel low energy and I want something that feels like easy and fun. And so I'm going to go watch like old TV shows on Hulu, right? And even though I have things in my business that I could be doing that need to get done, and even though I have time in my calendar, I'm not going to do those things right now. I'm going to pick a different time to do those. I'm going to push deadlines back if I need to. I'm maybe even going to cancel some things. Or like Alex and I were supposed to go see Sylvan Esso tonight in Berkeley, which I was really excited about. I'm not really like a live music person, but I love Sylvan Esso. And when I bought the tickets, I thought we would be in our house for like 4 days before the show, which was already to me like, oh, am I going to feel up for it? Now that I've only been in my house for 1 day, I was just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I have it in me to drive 2 hours and be at an outdoor concert with like a bunch of people. It didn't sound like something I was going to enjoy anymore. So like Alex and I just decided not to go, right? And also like the time that opened in my schedule, I'm mostly not going to be filling it with work or like quote unquote productive things. I'm mostly going to be filling it with like rest and fun things. So like after my client call, I had taken the afternoon off so we could drive over to Berkeley. I'm not going to try to work in that time. In fact, like usually I do my PT later in the afternoon. I'm not even going to do that then. That's why I'm trying to do it after this because like I just want to get it out of the way so I can just relax and be cozy and, have time to just be low energy and to give anything to the baby that the baby wants. And what the baby wants is to watch old TV shows on Hulu. This is not a commercial for Hulu, by the way. I just currently have Hulu and I'm really enjoying some shows on there. So let's think about this concept for you, right? Like, what kinds of super high standards are you holding yourself to? What kinds of things are you like making yourself do because you think you should or have to? Like, in what ways are you being really hard on yourself? In what ways are you being like mean to yourself, cruel to yourself, judgmental of yourself? In what ways are you expecting yourself to be a superhuman and getting super pissed at yourself because like you can't be? And what would it be like to treat yourself with this like anything for the baby attitude? And let's be clear, I don't think this means that like we have to like abandon all of our, responsibilities or our commitments. Like I'm still recording this podcast. I'm still going to go to my client call. I'm still even going to do my PT. And it would be okay if I canceled any of those things. But to me, anything for the baby doesn't mean I'm canceling my commitments. It means I'm being soft with myself. It means I'm being gentle with myself. It means when I find like spaces and pockets of time in my day, I'm not cramming them full of, quote unquote, productive activities. And I'm calling it quote unquote because I think when we're having a low energy day, especially, like adding more activity doesn't necessarily add more productivity, right? Activity does not necessarily equal productivity because sometimes we're just like doing stuff. Like I think as a culture, there's so much busy work. And so sometimes like we are doing busy work in our own lives and we don't even realize it's busy work because we're so indoctrinated with this idea of like always being working and always being doing stuff. And there is like something I did cancel this week. It wasn't a client call. It was actually a call where I was going to be the client. And I reached out to the coach and was like, hey, can we move this to another time? Like, I'm very overwhelmed with this week. We're having this fumigation thing. I need that time back. And that's the time I'm recording this podcast, right? So like I kind of made these assessments with myself of like, what is going to help baby succeed? And then I'm going to do those things, right? But within limits. And then what is going to help baby feel good and relax? And then I'm going to do those things again, also within limits, right? So maybe in some ways this is actually about balance, but the thing about balance is I see so many people being super hard on themselves and super mean to themselves and super judgmental of themselves. And so I think when they think about balance, they think about like adding in work and adding in rest. But a lot of us are working enough and we need to add in rest. A lot of us are working enough and we need to add in play. A lot of us are working enough and we need to add in hobbies. Or like a lot of us are working enough at our day job and maybe we need to like do a little less of that and add in working on our own activities, our own goals that we want to achieve. So to me, anything for the baby usually means like pampering, it means rest, it means TV, it means like hot tea or a glass of wine, but it could mean anything, right? Like, what does the baby want? What does the baby need? What's going to feel yummy? What's going to feel delicious? And then as ever, a lot of it also is about how we're talking to ourselves, right? If we're treating ourselves like we're our own sweet baby, I think that's going to be a different vibe, a different energy than how we usually treat ourselves, which is like more like the disappointed parent energy, right? Like, why can't you be better? Why can't you get it together? Like, why are you like this? Why do you always have to do that thing? So I think anything for the baby is also just like this like warm, yummy, like way of holding space for ourselves. That's how I've interpreted it. Like I said before, this isn't my original concept. This is totally my client's genius. And so that client might have a different way of thinking about it, what it means for them and how they treat themselves and how they talk to themselves and what they give themselves permission to do. And it might mean something totally different for you, how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, what you give yourself permission to do. But I just want to offer it to you as like a different way of thinking. Like if you treated yourself like your most beloved whoever, right? Your most beloved pet, your most beloved friend, your beloved significant other. If you're a person who has children, if you treated yourself like your own beloved child. I mean, even if you don't have children, like I treat myself like I'm my own beloved child and I'm childless. A lot of my stuff is about reparenting, which to me really is about having kindness and respect and dignity towards myself and understanding and compassion. So I also want to touch on something like, I think there's like a thought piece to this too, right? A mindset piece, a perspective piece. And we're usually talking, I think, here a lot more about the application versus about like the mechanics. But some of the coaching I do is based on this concept called thought work. And the idea about thought work is that our thoughts create our feelings create our actions, and our actions create the results we have in our life. And to get access to different feelings, to get access to different ways of showing up in the world, and to get access to different results we want to create, we often want to change our thoughts. And so what we're really doing here is I'm offering you a different way to think about yourself. But what's really cool about this is I'm offering you a way to think about yourself based on a pet, which may allow you to sort of circumvent the part where we often feel resistance to speaking kindly to and about ourselves. So that's the mechanics behind what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about imagining yourself differently and relating to yourself differently. The specific thought I'm talking about doing that through is this thought, anything for the baby. And it's like, I'm not just asking you to think that about yourself. I'm asking you to think it through the perspective of like a beloved pet, right? Or a beloved whatever, resonates for you. For some people, they're not pet people, but maybe it's a beloved plant. Like, how would you care for your plant? What would you offer to your plant? What if you offered that to yourself? And I think the thing about this concept is it's so simple. Anything for the baby, anything for my beloved, anything for this plant, because of course the plant needs water, and of course the plant needs soil, and of course the plant needs good drainage, right? And of course the plant needs sun. Those are things plants need. And yet so often we're looking at ourselves, expecting ourselves to succeed and thrive and grow without the conditions that we need, not just to basically survive, but also to thrive, to delight, to revel, to be having a delicious life, and to be feeling wildly satisfied. So what does the baby want today? What does the baby need? Can you offer like 10% more of anything to the baby? Can you offer 100% more? And what would shift in your life when you embrace this way of thinking about yourself and when you embrace this way of relating to yourself? And another thing I want to say is I talk a lot about my one-on-one coaching and my group coaching and how amazing it is and the coaching you're going to get if you join and the amazing community. But what I also want to offer you is when you come and get coaching, you will also be amazed by yourself. You will be amazed by your brilliance. I will be amazed by your brilliance. I might ask your permission to do a podcast episode on it. So many of my episodes are about things my clients said that just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, I'm absolutely obsessed with this. So I think that's so important to know. That's part of what you get with coaching with me too, right? Like I'll give you all the insight and the brilliance that I have. And I do have a lot of that, right? I've been doing this for a while and I got some skills, but also I think what you're going to be most amazed by is what you come up with and what your beautiful brain does and the breakthroughs that you have. I think we'll both be amazed by that. And I think that's so exciting. It's one of my favorite parts about this work is watching people be wowed by themselves and me getting to be wowed by them alongside them. So that is also the kind of thing that you can look forward to if you come and work with me one-on-one or in a small group, or if we do a deep dive coaching day together. And I just think it's so fun. And also the results in your life are spectacular. When that happens, like you have more fun with yourself, you trust yourself more, you're like delighting and reveling in your brilliance. It's a really good time and it creates really powerful impacts in your life. So if that sounds like something you would like to have some of for the rest of 2023 or in 2024, come sign up for a consult call and let's have a conversation about it. I cannot wait to see the brilliance you have that is going to wow and delight you. All right, that's what I have for y'all this week. Have a great week and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Love Your Job Before You Leave It. We'll have another episode for you next week. And in the meantime, if you're feeling super fired up, head on over to CoreyLynn.com for more guidance and resources.